Okay, so Arknights Rise from Amber, aka my beloved Season 3, is finally out, after what feels like waiting for a train here in Germany.
Wird voraussichtlich 1000 Minuten später abfahren.
But one thing is clear, the pacing isn't the best. Episode 1 to 4 hit hard, especially episode 2, which felt like trying to absorb a novel through osmosis, because let's face it, this season assumes you've either played the game or memorized 10 books worth of lore. For anime onlys, this is understandably confusing. And because I feel like the anime has some explaining to do, I've decided to cover the first few episodes of the anime while trying not to spoil anything unless I absolutely have to. The season picks up exactly where we left off. After 2 years of waiting, we get to see our main cast again. Chernobog, the nomadic city reunion hijacked in the first season, is now on collision course with Lungmen. The catch? It is still broadcasting in Urso's identification code, which means attacking it is basically equivalent to poking a bear with a rocket launcher and expecting it to say thank you. Strangely, Ursus doesn't intervene. In fact, they're doing absolutely nothing. Not because they are unable to do so, but because apparently complete societal collapse is just easier than actual governance. Wei Yanwu, doing Wei Yanwu things, proposes a preemptive strike, but Chen, still understandably being pissed off from discovering his cleanup campaign in the slums, aka indiscriminately killing every infected they could get their hands upon, pushes back, instead wanting to take on Tadora herself. We also get a quick dive into Chen's backstory. She is secretly infected, which was covered up by Wei Yanwu. Tadora is her half-sister, and Tadora was kidnapped during childhood by a charming Ursus noble called Kashji, a guy with the energy of what if Rasputin was a power-hungry child snatcher. Chen escapes her uncle by making the rational decision to leap off a skyscraper and vanish, after which she defeats Hoshiguma in a battle of will and leaves. Because that is how serious people solve conflicts. Meanwhile, Rosmontes is introduced as a literal psychic artillery battery in child form. She helps the doctor cremate Frostnova's body, which is a necessary step because in Arknights, if you don't burn the dead, they literally explode like biological landmines. Rosmontes' arts are also introduced, her being able to sense the threads connecting people, and being able to move stuff with her mind. Yes, that's terrifying. A telepathic 14-year-old with severe PTSD and orbital strike capabilities. Episode 2 is where things get overwhelming. It tries to condense W's entire past, plus the founding of Babel, the politics of Castle, and enough foreshadowing to put Genshin to shame, in under 24 minutes. Bold move? The focus of this episode is W, who wasn't always known as W. She got her name the old-fashioned way. By picking up the gear of a fallen star class, she joins Hydera's and Inez's squad as a replacement for their fallen comrade, and eventually ends up at Babel, the predecessor of our paramilitary medicinal force, Rhodes Island. Babel was originally founded by Teresa, the so-called Lord of Fiends, possessing the Black Crown, a mark that brands its bearer as the ruler of the Sarkas, and her being the center of a succession conflict between her and her brother. The pre-amnesia Doctor and Kalshi were also key figures back in Babel, the old Doctor being cold, clinical, and probably in possession of a PowerPoint that's labeled morality is optional. W becomes attached to Teresa, eventually joining Babel herself, while Hydera and Inez left the landship. And after Teresa dies, for which W seems to blame the Doctor, and Babel was more or less disbanded, she decided to join Reunion along with Hydera and Inez to get away from Castle, and to locate the Doctor, of course, because why wouldn't she? This episode also reveals the death of Scout, an elite operator who sacrificed himself in Chernobog, with his death being a part of Scout's deal with W to allow the Doctor to escape. But probably the most interesting point in this entire episode is Inez's arts, and the foreshadowing it brings. Her unique arts allow her to see the intent in people's shadows, which would be neat if she didn't see two shadows inside Tadora, which again is not how any normal person works, but it is how foreshadowing works. This, and the fact that Tadora seemed to deliberately set Reunion up for failure, makes W betray her, after which we are in the present again. ending in W being thrown off a building. The first thing we get is a Chen Tadala flashback, where Tadala was taken away by Kashi, before returning back to the things at hand. Rhodes Island infiltrating Chernobog via a grappling hook and a lot of sand. Obviously, their mission is to stop Tadala. It would be bad PR for the infected if Tadala were to cause a mass casualty event, like the 10th after Mephisto rounded up civilians and decided they'd need to play candles because he said so. Kalshi starts talking about ancient Saka's prophecies, because when has that ever been ominous? Foreshadowing for the next episode. And Rosmontas' part is unpacked. In short, she is an adorable weapon of mass destruction, fought through state-funded human experimentation by the US, Colombia of course. They are absolutely separate entities that have nothing to do with another, which killed her brothers, fragmenting her memory and infecting her with horopathy. That's also why she can't remember things. Like typical things that happen in the life of a 14-year-old. Also, we got Guard back, previously a background character from season 1, now with a new fit. This is the part where we encounter Patriot, the Aegis of the infected. A war hero, physically akin to a brick wall and one of the most respected commanders within Reunion. Unlike certain other individuals, he refuses to harm civilians and has a clear code of honor. I swear Mephisto could never. We also get his backstory, because this is still an anime and this surely isn't a death flag at all. He is ancient, like multiple centuries old, which is crazy because I call people already ancient when they're like 25, but he still recognizes Kalshi, stating that she doesn't seem to age, which is definitely not foreshadowing for like the 7th season, but don't worry about that. He once served Ursus, tasked with exterminating infected, but turns against them after his son is killed during an infected uprising. After he makes the horrible mistake of asking for human rights in Ursus, he eventually found his way to Reunion, being one of its founding members. That is, before Amiya practically one-shots him. In an attempt to grant him a peaceful death, she offers him a dream at the moment of his death. This, however, reveals who she is, the new Lord of Fiends and Teresa's true successor. And according to an old Saka's prophecy, also the one fated to kill him, but more than that, she is the one destined to bring Terra to his knees. The one that is said to bring the greatest destruction Terra has ever seen, at least according to the prophecy. Oh yeah, these prophecies also basically always come true. So Patriot tries to kill her, but fails. Why? Not because he's too weak, but because he hesitates. And in that hesitation, he succumbs to horopathy, dying before he could reach her. This is what happens to an MFer when they only upload once every few months. That's the short version. There's gonna be a longer one planned for the future, or a sequel for the remaining episodes once the anime finishes airing. But until then, thanks for watching. If this helped, or if you just enjoyed me rambling about lore for the past I don't know how many minutes straight, feel free to like, comment or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.